Not Nerd Podcast, episode 271. Agree to disagree.
Welcome to the Not Nerd Podcast. I'm Nate Heath, and we are here to help you tech better. Here with me, as always, Mr. Dave Baylor.
Well, hello there. Fancy to see you here today.
Yes. As we do.
Yes, we do. Hey, before we get started, I'd like to remind everybody to like and subscribe if you haven't already. It is funny. If we don't remind people, they don't do it. So
Yes.
there's your reminder.
Yeah. Head over to YouTube. And I'm glad you said that because I forgot. I was going to bring up, because knowing myself when I listen to a podcast, if I got to the end of listening to it and then they said, and if you're watching our video version, I'd go, oh, well, I'm not going to go watch it now. So this is a great reminder that if you've subscribed to us for a long time and you just listen away and you want to go check out the video version that Dave puts endless hours of making us look good.
I suppose.
It does add a little bit if that is something you want to do. So thank you for that reminder,
Yes.
Dave. Well, let's get into some follow-up. I looked back and it was almost exactly a month ago that we had a story about Apple's new privacy nutrition labels for apps and how Google that went into effect December 8th. Well, Google hadn't updated any of its major apps from December 8th into January when this story came out. And I saw another story this week that they are finally getting around 2 months later to updating their apps to have the new privacy labels. They had done a couple of their smaller apps, but it looks like, and there was actually some errors if you opened up the YouTube app on your iPhone this week, where it would say, oh, you need to update, but there wasn't an update available. So it looks like they're finally getting around to meeting Apple's iOS App Store guidelines on privacy labels. Who would have thought that Google wouldn't be all over that?
Yeah, it's very telling by their delay. I mean, I think they just milked it as long as they could because while they delayed, all this data was still coming in. And the second they put the privacy label and let people know what they're collecting, show's over. Probably 90% of the people are going to say, no, don't share that information. And this huge fat cow of Apple iOS users' data is going to go away. So Facebook is in the same boat as Google.
Yes, and interestingly enough, since with my business, consistmedia.com, I work with Facebook ads, help businesses get that stuff set up, and I had a phone meeting with my Facebook rep just a couple days ago, and she was like, are you aware of all the iOS updates and the Apple stuff that's happening that's going to affect advertising? And I was like, yes, I'm probably more aware than the average person because I'm a huge nerd and I try to explain nerd stuff to not nerds. So, but yeah, we were just kind of talking through it some, and it will be, I think it's auto opt out, and then you have to opt in if you want the ad tracking stuff. And she said that Facebook, their team, in the ads department is constantly doing training just to figure out not ways around it, but the ways that you can still get information and target things, which I know we differ on this. I would much rather see ads that apply to me than on that side of the spectrum instead of just seeing random ads that don't apply to me, and I'm willing to give up some of my privacy for that, where you tend to be at the other end where you would like more privacy, and so you don't necessarily
generic ads would be better for me, right? And then when I can, I block those ads.
Yes.
So it's irrelevant.
Yes. But all of that stuff, and that will be coming with iOS 14.5, I believe, is when they're really going to roll out some of that cross-blocking that will affect Facebook that they have been very vocal about, and Google is also working on that.
Did you say cross-blocking? I'm just
cross-blocking.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're on the same wavelength then. Yeah.
Yeah. So iOS 14.5, which they are going right through the major updates for the latest version of iOS, has a lot of great features And one of the ones that we've talked about before wanting to be able to do in our frustrations with Apple Music, in 14.5, you can set your preferred, and I will say audio player, because I was very happy to see in the article at the8-bit.com, which I had never heard of before, but in the little screenshot they have, Pocket Casts, my preferred podcast player, is actually listed there. So I would actually be able to have the Apple Music app on my phone and Pocket Casts, and it wouldn't try to play music every time I want to go back to listening to my podcasts.
Very nice. And I think the way this is accomplished, there's not like a setting that you go in and turn on a thing. When you ask Siri to play something, it'll bring up a list of options. And then when you choose that option, that will be your default. Now, how do you change it to something else? You probably say, hey, girl, play such and such song on such and such app. And then I think whatever you use last is what it remembers.
Yes.
But the very first time you do it, it gives you an option. So it's not great in the usability department. That seems a little cerebral. And for people who don't use the Siri voice assistant, then when they do other things on their phone that are related to Siri, then it'll still go to the Apple Music thing. And
so
I don't know.
I'm hoping it's the first step in making that better. But 14.5 has a lot of other great features. I don't think we mentioned it, but one of the ones I'm most excited about is when you're wearing a mask, you will be able to unlock your iPhone with your Apple Watch, which will be very nice, because that's frustrating. It's usually when I'm in the grocery store, pushing the cart around, got a mask on, trying to check the shopping list. Try to open it, have to type in my passcode, and I think a lot of people have probably just turned off their passcodes if they're out and about a lot wearing masks, because it's so frustrating. So they've worked it out, because your phone also unlocks your Apple Watch, or keeps it unlocked. So again, that spectrum of security and ease of use. It seems like they've worked out a good way to do that. And there's a bunch of other features, but it is not out yet. So I'm sure. The one I'm really excited about, global dual SIM 5G support on the iPhone 12, because I am a dual SIM user. And,
are you really? Do you actually use that?
Yes, because I have my Google Fi business SIM, and then my T-Mobile eSIM, and the chips allowed it, but Apple is the only one that's worked this out to be able to do 5G on both SIMs. So that is something that 0.01% of our listening audience will care about, but I'm excited about it, so I'm going to mention it.
Well, let me take a quick sidestep, and I know we're trying to keep the time at a minimum, but I was out and about yesterday taking my son to and from work, and I was doing my own work, and when I was parked, I needed to download a video file. It was about 5 gigs, and downloaded it to my phone. It took, I don't know, it was really fast. It had to have been 5G, because it was just a couple of minutes. And then I got home and wanted to re-download the file, because when I did an air share or airdrop thing, the file size was different than the original. So I don't know if it's because I hit the wrong thing when I downloaded. Beside the point. At home, it took longer to download than it did when I was 5G. Out on 5G. So your mileage may vary, but in particular cases, it works really well.
Yeah, real world use case. Thank you for that. And we do have a little bit of Cryptowatch. Tesla and Elon Musk announced that they're buying, or have bought, $1.5 billion with a B in Bitcoin, and that they are working on taking payment in Bitcoin for Tesla vehicles and their other products. So it seems like, that's a big, Elon Musk and Tesla, that's kind of a big deal, and they're making a big investment. And to check on the current price, it is now nearing in on $50,000. So we talked about when it hit 40,000, we said, don't take financial advice from us. But who knows? It could literally tomorrow go to zero. I don't know what to tell you, but it seems like we're seeing more buy-in, but who knows what's going to happen on this.
I really wish that Elon would have called me before he made this announcement. Then I could have bought some shares, and then, but he and I aren't talking much these days, so
yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah, so
C'est la vie.
just a month ago, it was hovering down around 30,000. So per Bitcoin, it's a wild thing, but very interesting. I don't follow it too closely. About the only time I look at the price is when we mention it on the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bitcoin and some of those other cryptocurrencies. Who knows?
Who knows?
But you know who does know? Dave with his pro tip of the week.
That's right. And I thought I would do something very practical today. Sorry, Android users. Even though Steve Jobs announced, 8-10 years ago, that iMessage would be cross-platform, it's still not the case. And so this is an iMessage tip for today. So our Apple fans only. And this applies to iMessage, which is accessed through messages. Now, I always get confused on this, Nate. Tell me if I have this right. Messages is the application. iMessage is the technology or the network in which messages connects to. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. I really wish they would have done something different on that because it's so confusing.
Yes.
But either one you say, people generally know what you're talking about. So this is an iMessage/messages tip. So how often have you been texting back and forth with a friend for, like, you and I have a thread goes back probably a year. Every once in a while we delete it, either due to an accidental deletion, or not like a accident where you fall and hurt yourself, but like an accidental deletion, or you had to wipe a device or something like that. But our stuff goes way back, and you've sent me links, you've sent me pictures, you've sent me files, and I find myself just scrolling for minutes at a time trying to go back and find a message. Well, I'm doing it wrong as usual. I'm working too hard, and all of us know that we shouldn't be working too hard. So here's a tip for all of you out there so that you can tech better. So what you do is, let me find a device around here. I've put them all away. This is embarrassing.
Yes, and while he's doing that, I will mention, I will vamp a bit that we are both using our iPhone 12 Pro Maxes. You got the Max or just the regular?
I got the Max.
Yes, as our video source for YouTube, along with a backup, because one backup is none backup, so that does limit. So I am looking at options, because there is something comforting about having my phone when we're doing something like this and want to look at it. But that is why he is having to search for another device.
Yes, and I found my iPad nearby, which everyone should have an iPad nearby. And without giving away too much information, I can crop some of this stuff out as I go. But I'm on our show links message, and you can see that Nate and I have lots of stuff in our show links.
Yes.
Just tons of stuff in there. And if I wanted to go back and find that, how do I go back? Because normally you have a bunch of text messages back and forth too. So pretending that the show links at the top of the screen is my person, I'm going to click on show links, and 3 buttons show up, 3 icons: audio, FaceTime, and info. If you click that info button, mine's taking a long time, but it's going to happen here eventually. There we go. It brings up a little show links dialog box. Got to get the right camera here. Show links dialog box. And down here below, you will see that there are links as an option. There are photos as an option. And if there were documents, those would show up as well. So if you're ever looking for a document that maybe your tax guy sent you a long time ago, or a photo that a friend sent among thousands of text messages, go up to the top of the screen in messages, tap their picture, choose the info button, and then you can pick and choose the photos or the documents or the links that you want. So,
Yeah.
Nate, is this something that you've used before?
I use it probably daily. I swear by this, and messages on my Mac, which I use a lot since I'm on my laptop most of the time. But I constantly using that, trying to fix, because you can get all the text out of the way and just find if it's a contact or an address or whatever. And the search function has also gotten a ton better in messages as well.
Yeah, I usually use the search, and then I'm still got 20 or 30 things to go through to find it. So this I knew about a long time ago, completely forgot about it, never use it. But now moving forward, I'm going to use it all the time.
Yes, and I did, while you were doing all of that, I picked up my Pixel 3a phone, and I know at different times they've had this feature, but just about every Android phone has a different messaging app and different things, so I'm not seeing it. I don't have a lot of messages on here, because this is mostly just for testing, but on Android, the Android slogan, your results may vary. But
yes,
as far as
that should be their slogan.
messages, the Messages app, it is easy to find that stuff that you might be looking for there. So I really like that one. It's a good reminder, because it's one of those things I just take for granted and realize that other people probably don't know that.
Yep.
And let's move on to our takes of the week. Above Avalon, we've mentioned them before. It is Neil Seibart, who is a Apple analyst, does a podcast, puts out articles. I think he has a subscription thing like they all do. But he was looking at the Apple Watch numbers, and I thought this was very interesting. And the title of the article is Apple Watch is now worn on 100 million wrists.
Wow.
100 million. Now, the interesting thing, we just recently heard that Apple has 1 billion.
A billion pockets, y'all. A billion.
Active iOS devices, or maybe even just iPhones. I think that's just iPhones. So that means worldwide 10% of iPhone users are also using an Apple Watch. Now, there's a very small number of people that use an Apple Watch that don't have an iPhone, but I think that would be statistically zero if you really want to look at it.
You have to have an iPhone to set them up, but you can set one up for another person, like a child or a spouse or something with your iPhone. But I think you're right. I think the use case for that is very, very small.
Yes, and it also says, even more interesting, that in the U.S., this article states that approximately 35% of iPhone users were wearing an Apple Watch at the end of 2020. 35%. That's almost 4 in 10 people, and I do see a lot more of them. Obviously they're a thing. They are a huge industry. Apple Watch alone is larger than most companies in the world. Probably even some governments and all of that, nations. But yeah, it is. They're catching on, and we both sing their praises and wear one every day. And I know a lot of our listeners do as well.
Yeah. When do we decide to move on? When Apple and Apple Watch and all this stuff they're not cool anymore because everybody's doing it? Like my grandpa has one.
Yeah.
What do we move on to? We're going to go back to Android, or what's the
I think
the cool stuff?
The rumors are leading to some sort of augmented reality glasses, headset, something from Apple that they have been working on and has been rumored for a long time. But I've been seeing more and more chatter in that space. So maybe that will be the thing. It's like, oh yeah, anybody's got an Apple Watch, but I've got
the glasses.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm a cyborg now.
Well, I'm glad that they're coming up with something new so that I can maintain my elite status. So
yes. And speaking of augmented reality, Apple has released its first AR app, by Apple, based on the show For All Mankind, which is based on the space program and going to the moon, I believe. I have not watched the show yet. But they have a little video in the link in the show notes where you can kind of go through some of the story stuff behind it. Now, I don't know if it was on the podcast or not, but Dave, you mentioned to me with the AR stuff, with the new iPhones, with the LiDAR, it has gotten really good. We've played a couple little games with my daughter. Some of her games have AR stuff built in and it works well. And I have had this sitting somewhere in my studio forever now, but I got this box from Amazon around Christmas time. I only got one of these boxes. I didn't hear a lot about it, and I'm holding it up for those listening, but there's a dog on it, and there is a Amazon original series called The Pack, and there's a QR code on this box. And you scan the QR code, and I'll try to link to it in the show notes so anybody could try it out. But so with my daughter, I was like, oh, dogs, AR, we are in. So I got the app. You set the box down, you get the app, you open it, you scan it, and all of a sudden a dog appears on the on the carpet or wherever you're at. And then you can switch dogs, you can, pet the dog, you can make the dog do different dogs do different tricks. But yeah, it's QR codes and augmented reality. But we probably got 200 Amazon packages during the holiday season. That might be a little high. Usually you get the envelopes these days, but for whatever reason, we were lucky enough to get one of these The Pack things. And you can't, if you get the Amazon AR app, you can't just do the Pack thing. You have to have one of these boxes, which why you want exclusivity when you're trying to promote one of your own TV shows. But yeah, that's The Pack. Maybe we should just hold boxes in front of our face all the time.
Yeah, you're looking really good with that dog head.
Yes.
Now, Lego has done something similar for a number of years, where you point it at the box, and then the box becomes alive with different toys playing on it and stuff. Very cool.
Yes, yeah. So, there's more and more that I think we talked about the IKEA one. I popped a chair into my parents' living room, and Amazon's got it for some of their products. But
I hope you didn't try to sit in it.
Yes, I did not. But I think over this next year, we're probably going to start seeing some more products where it's not just using your phone, but where you actually have a better device for this kind of experience. And we've gotten away from our weekly security and privacy stories, but there was an interesting one that kind of made it into the mainstream this last week, where a hacker tried to poison Florida City's water supply, police say.
What in the world?
Yes, so Pinellas County, Florida. Somebody hacked in. They were able to get, it sounds like reading through it that, you might have remote desktop or VPN set up on your computer, especially working from home. Somebody was working on their computer and they saw that somebody had connected into it and tried to adjust the sodium hydroxide levels from like 10 parts per million or 100 parts per million is their standard for water sanitation, and they tried to change it to 11,100 parts per million, which if that would have gone unchecked would be not good, but they could see the person connect in, change the number, the person disconnected, they changed the number back. But again, these things...
I hope that there's some type of failsafe outside of somebody randomly seeing it happen.
Yes, the Homer Simpson nuclear meltdown alert of some sort. Some other sensor besides I'm sure it's some like DOS-based interface to adjust and why do we need to adjust this level? Why would you be able to, in the software, adjust it to a toxic level? Seems like there's some things that might need to be changed at our water sanitation plants around the country.
There should be a knob somewhere that you have to physically turn or something.
Two people separately with a special key need to be able to turn that. But I thought that was an interesting one, and It looks like they were using TeamViewer, which I think we've talked about as a very common software to be able to connect into a computer, and they had it set up so that people could do it remotely, especially with everything going on. So,
Wow.
very interesting. And our bonus odd take of the week is one that most people probably saw, but if you did not see it this week, the Zoom Cat lawyer video where there was a legal proceeding going on, and when one of the lawyers tried to join in, he had some sort of cat filter on in Zoom, and it was priceless. And at one point he says, "No, let's just go with it. I'm good. I'm actually here. I'm not a cat." And it appeared through his voice that he sounded like an elderly gentleman, and I know plenty of elderly people that are great with tech. And I was actually on a Zoom call for a school thing this past week, and even people our age and younger are not super savvy with Zoom, so I don't blame it on age. But if you have not seen that, make sure you click the link and just check it out, because it's pretty funny.
I'm not a cat.
Yeah, I'm not a cat.
Just to let you know.
Yeah.
100% for sure. I'm a real person.
Yeah, let's go through with this hearing with me as a cat face, and he says, "My assistant's trying to fix it for me right now." But yes,
hilarious.
Yes, one of those priceless Zoom videos. But you know what else is priceless? Our picks of the week.
So Nate, I did something.
Yes, you did.
I spent some money.
Yes.
I spent money on something that I probably could have spent on a drone or like a PlayStation 5 or I don't know.
Anything.
Anything.
Or a car payment or a
car payment, a house
load
payment.
of groceries.
I could have given money to the poor,
Yeah.
something. But what did I do instead? I got an Oculus Quest 2 virtual reality device headset.
Yes.
So, and I showed it to you last week, and it's a lot of fun. Now, I can see me going from playing it every day or experiencing it every day. It's not necessarily a game, to kind of occasionally, because it can be all encompassing. It can wreck with your equilibrium.
Yes.
It's kind of fidgety sometimes, you're putting it on. But, I'm telling you all these negative things. So let me tell you about why it's the pick of the week. Well, it's an affordable, standalone virtual reality headset that starts at $300. There's a $400 option with more storage. I don't think it's necessary for most people. But for $300, you can have a standalone VR experience. You can download a bunch of free things that will immerse you into the world of VR. Since I'm a super nerd like you who teach technology to people who aren't nerds or not nerds, sounds like a good name for a podcast. I do things like connect it to my computer and have like a virtual desktop, and I can actually control my computer in a virtual space with my controllers, and the possibilities are endless. So if you at home have been on the fence about kind of jumping into the world of virtual reality, now is the time. The Quest 2 is affordable. The technology is good. The latency is near zero. The screen quality is very high.
Yeah.
So, it's really fun. I will say one more negative point to this is that Oculus was purchased by Facebook a number of years ago. And they finally got to the point, even though they said they never would, where they're requiring people to have a Facebook account to use this device. So if that is something that scares you or something you don't want to do, I recommend just when you first turn it on, set up a new account with some other email address that you have, or create a new email address and just go for it. No harm, no foul. So Nate, as I mentioned last week or so, I gave you the opportunity to use it. What was your thoughts and experience?
Yeah, so my only VR experience prior to that was with the Google Cardboard, which was a very lackluster experience. You just put your phone into this special cardboard thing.
Yeah.
It was a previous pick of the week, actually, but that was years ago, and it was still a cool thing. But putting on the Oculus and having the controllers in your hand, which cardboard definitely didn't. I mean, it is just really a cool immersive experience, and you had me do this trial of a game where you're in a World War One fighter plane, and
Yeah.
it was fine, kind of shooting or flying around trying to shoot things, but then you look over your shoulder and you're looking down to the ground, and I mean, you cannot control it. My legs just kind of are like, whoa, what's going on here? And I'm not necessarily afraid of heights or anything,
Yeah.
but it
I
is
should
a
have had you
really
sit in
cool
a
experience.
chair, to be
Yes,
fair.
yes, for my first try.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think it is just a very fun experience. After I tried yours, I was like, maybe I should get one of these. And then I was thinking, kind of like you were talking about the diminishing returns, where, I'd use it, I'd show my parents, I would, have a couple people play with it. And then it's like, is this something that I'm going to I'm getting emotional. Is this something that I'm going to make part of my daily life? And is it something I have time for? Which is
Yeah.
usually the limiting factor when I look at the holistic cost on anything is, do I need to add something that's going to take more time in my life? And the answer is usually no. But
Hmm.
it was really cool experience. And maybe you go in with a couple people on it and, pass it around family to family, 1 week at a time or something like that.
Yeah.
Or if you're really into gaming and into that experience, I could really, I mean, this seemed like a great product, especially at that price point.
Yeah, there are a bunch of cool games that you can get for it. And just kind of talking to people and showing it around, I know about
Here.
5 people now who uh, have their own copy. So maybe we're going to try to do some things remotely. It'd be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a cool idea. Now I believe you did what you recommended of setting up a separate Facebook account, and from my
Hmm.
perspective, what are you afraid that Facebook's going to get from you while you're flying your World War One fighter plane? I on my side of the spectrum, I just don't. I'm
Yeah.
sure Facebook know which games I'm playing, but what was your reasoning behind that?
Well, most people don't care about Facebook collecting their data, like you said, about getting information so they can serve you better ads and stuff like that. I'm being the person who's the opposite, who wants to give them as little information as possible. As soon as I connect, like an Oculus account, I'm giving them credit card information. I'm giving them information about the types of games that I'm playing. I'm potentially giving them all the communication information between people that I chat with or do video chat with or text chat with over the device. And that was just a bunch more information that I didn't feel like I wanted to be tied to my primary account so that they could just, you know, get more information on me. So I thought maybe divvying it up between 2 different accounts where all my gaming and all that stuff is separate from my real world person would cripple them in some way so that I could retain some of that privacy. Because,
Gotcha.
I mean, honestly, me wanting to purchase a hardware device doesn't implicitly give Facebook every right under the sun to take every bit of information from me. And now I know there's license agreements and those type of things, but
Yeah.
um, it doesn't feel right to me that they just assume that I want to give them all of that location information, movement information, purchasing information, uh, communication information. Um, that's those are things I feel like I would want to give them on a need to know basis and not just a free for all. So that's
Yes.
why.
Yes. Agree to disagree. Well, my pick of the week has nothing to do with privacy, so I don't think there's much of a spectrum here. So, a few weeks back, I mentioned that I had to take my laptop in for service, my MacBook Pro 16-inch, and when I got it back, which actually ended up being 24 hours later, thank you,
Wow.
Apple customer service, I noticed that it was super clean. Now, one of my problems, as you might be aware, is that I use a lot of mustache wax. My fingers aren't always the cleanest. I don't eat necessarily that much around my computer. I'm not a Cheeto fiend that's always, got Cheeto dust on my computer, but it just gets dirty. My screen gets stuff on it. I spit when I talk. My keyboard kind of gets messy, and when it came back, I had to look there. I sadly have one little nick that I got in the metal frame of this computer. I had to find that nick because I did not believe it was the same computer because it was so clean. And I've used different things. I've got my favorite microfiber cloths that were a previous pick of the week. I've used iClear. I think we've talked about iClear, which has been around forever for cleaning Macs. But I've also read with these new screens, you got to be careful what you use. I think Apple recommends, maybe just a very damp microfiber cloth if you need to clean your screen, and don't even touch it when you're cleaning it, kind of a thing. Well, I got thinking.
Use the force to clean it.
Yes, yeah. Force clean, if we could only. But so I got to thinking, I go, well, how did they get it so clean? They must use something. Then I remembered, I know somebody that works at the Apple store. So I sent this person a text message and said, hey, what do you guys use to clean my laptop? It came back looking brand new. And he let me know, sent me a link to a brand I had never heard about called Whoosh, Tech Hygiene. Whoosh. And so I was like, done and done. If this is what Apple has decided that they're going to use, I think that maybe I can trust it as well. He did say, like for the screen on my laptop, that they just barely use a misting on the microfiber cloth. But I think for about $8, I got this cool looking box, and it came with a bigger spray bottle and then kind of a travel spray bottle and 3 little high quality orange. They really like the orange microfiber cloths, and I tried it out. And it's working great. So if you're looking for what Apple uses, I don't know what better endorsement you could do. And maybe that's not all of Apple. Maybe it's just this one Apple store. Or maybe it's one of many tools they have. But I highly recommend, and they have bigger ones. Like you could get like a quart-size spray bottle, and I'm like, that would last me. I've got some of that iClear stuff that's like 20 years old by this point. That's why I figured maybe that stuff. Maybe it's time for something new. So it says cleans and polishes all your screens and devices, eyeglasses, and VR headsets, smartphones, tablets, HD TVs, and monitors. And even wearable technology with a very Apple Watch looking thing there. So yeah, Whoosh. Whoosh, available on Amazon. I'll have a link in the show notes. But so far, so good. And it's always good to keep your devices looking nice. It's usually before I'm going to a meeting where I know I'll be using my laptop. Then I'm like, okay, I need to make this thing look pretty. Right. Shine it up before I go in there to give it that professional look. But.
Well, I could use this product as well, but I usually try to keep my screen and my computer immaculate. And I'm often disgusted, not with you, Nate, but being in technology and working on other people's computers. Sometimes I get their computer and I'm just like, what are you even doing with your life? Like, come on.
Yes.
Do you want this to work?
Yeah.
So I usually, if I take it away, I clean it and give it back to them. So some people notice, some people don't. So
yes, and also my laptop, unlike other people, as a DJ, I DJ a wedding outdoors. Like mine gets out into the elements maybe more, and the mustache wax that I just can't seem to get off my fingers. But so this is a good way to keep it clean, and I'm going to work on keeping mine cleaner. Maybe I should start wearing gloves while I use my laptop.
Oh, that's a good idea, I think.
Yes, you think. Well, our Amazon purchase of the week, we love it when you guys use our Amazon links. We do get a little kickback, and I get to look at the anonymous reports of what everyone's buying, and we put a lot of Amazon links out there, the pick store on the website, and that we continue to add picks to, so you can just find great products and think of what you will of Amazon. It is a great place to buy things. And so this week, what I picked, and I happen to know who this was because they were already complaining that we did not pick them as the Amazon purchase week. So once again, congratulations, Todd. You are the winner Todd Workhoven, he purchased the Voda newly upgrade 4-blades heat-powered stove eco-fan with magnetic thermometer for wood log burner fireplace.
Wow. So what is this thing again? A fan.
So,
That's what I heard.
Yes, and I was aware of these products. He has a wood stove that he uses to heat his, I'll call it a cabin. He has a very cool place
That's
where
fair.
he lives. And so this is just a metal fan with some heat sinks behind it that you set on top of your wood stove. And the way that it's designed with the heat, it makes the fan blow. Now, him and I had a discussion. This isn't going to blow the heat with any force. It's more of a novelty, like many of his other purchases we've discussed on the podcast. But just the heat radiating up through the wood stove, it causes this fan to turn. So I sent you a picture of it, Dave, so that you can see. And I'm guessing you're an expert on the pricing here.
Well, I'm very intrigued by the mechanism which makes it work.
Yes, yeah. Yes,
is it a Stirling engine type thing? Is it convection? Are there little creatures in there that get hot and then run to power the thing? Is it Mexican jumping beans? I don't know.
Yes, it is pure magic.
It's magic.
So I will say in the product description, it says, what are the benefits of having a wood stove fan? It helps you to save money on your utility bills. It also helps you save time heating your home. It can work by itself, requiring almost no maintenance. It also allows you to use less fuel. So the idea behind is that it spreads the heat. How much it spreads the heat is what is up for debate.
It's redirecting the heat.
Yes.
I will also, I'm trying to think, will you be losing any heat due to the kinetic energy that is expended to turn the fan? This might be a question for Mark Middleton of the Mark and Toddcast, of which Todd is on. Or maybe our friends over at the subreddit, they did the math.
Yes.
Who they tackle questions like this. So if I were to, how big is this thing? Like a foot tall?
I would say 6 inches tops.
Oh, it's smaller.
Yes, it is 9 inches tall. I was way off, so right in the middle there.
And it's all metal construction. It looks to be made of aluminum.
Aluminum is correct.
Okay, aluminum.
And I will look at the top review as I scroll down the Amazon listing. It says, "Run smooth, but not enough blow." That is the most helpful review on this product.
Yeah, I've been accused of that. Okay, so I think this. I'll give you my thought process. I was thinking this is like a $47 product. Then when you said it was smaller, and then we talked about it being aluminum or aluminium for those of you across the pond, I'm thinking this is a little bit less. I'm going to go with $28 on this device, and I hope I'm in the ballpark.
Well, you were originally more in the ballpark. This one is currently unavailable, but the related products looks like they're the $45 to $55 range. So you should have stuck with your gut instinct.
I should have. Oh, well.
Yes.
I hope you at home had a better price than me.
Exactly. We'd love to hear when you beat Dave at guessing the price. But yes, another fun gadget for Todd's residence, which he is not lacking in there whatsoever. He has got some cool stuff around there. So if you ever get the chance to make a voyage to Todd's domicile,
I hope he's still alive. I'm just thinking of him with all this weather we've been having in his little shed, but I suppose he's got enough wood to last through 5 winters, so he'll probably be okay.
Not to discuss too much of Todd's personal life, I think he was actually maybe house sitting somewhere this past week. So, but yeah, he's got all the wood.
Let's dig into the intricacies of Todd Workhoven's lifestyle.
Let's see if I have him on Find My. We could see where he's at right now.
Where's he at?
No, Todd is a great friend and buys some cool stuff. And make sure you check out the Mark and Toddcast for their science and news podcast that we've been on and is a lot of fun. So
yep.
with that, I think it is about time to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for partaking in it, and hopefully you learned something through all the stuff through all our ramblings, so that you can get out there and tech better. Forehead cam. Oh, I have to pick my grip up.